Episode 10. I'm Brett Cagle, joined today by Anthony Ballister. And it's been a while since we've talked to you. We've got a lot to cover. UFC versus Garcia and UFC 301 pay-per-view from Rio this weekend. It's very interesting. We're going to break down all those fights on the main card as well. Anthony, what were some of your thoughts from UFC 300 and your takeaways?
Yeah, there was a lot to talk about. It was a great card. I thought every single fight was unbelievable. Obviously, Alex Pereira finishing Jamal Hill quickly. I thought Alex Pereira would win, but I didn't think he was going to win that quickly. He showed why he's a future Hall of Famer. Already won 2 division champion, and he's only been in the UFC for a few fights. So, what he's accomplished in that small amount of time is nothing but, miraculous. He wants to fight Aspinall at heavyweight next. I think that's not going to happen. I think he's probably going to end up getting matched up with Ankalaev next, which will probably be his toughest match of the date. But I'm excited for that one. Obviously, Justin Gaethje and Max Holloway was probably not only the fight of the night, but maybe the fight of UFC history. What an exciting fight. Holloway definitely surprised everybody, winning probably all the rounds, leading to a knockout. He's going to probably take that BMF title down to 145 and challenge Ilia Topuria. So that could be interesting. Justin Gaethje, unfortunately, now takes a step back. Probably needs a good win or two to put himself back in title contention. We also got a new challenger at 155 in Armar Sarukian with a very impressive win over Charles Oliveira. Other thoughts, I thought Yari Prohaska showed great grit to come back and beat, Rakic. I thought Aljamain Sterling in his debut at featherweight looked good and dominated Calvin Kattar. I thought Bobby Green looked pretty good, and even though Jim Miller was able to tough it out, Bobby Green looked great. He might be fighting Padley Pimblett next. I wouldn't mind that fight. Figueiredo fighting Cody Garbrandt, who's not the same Garbrandt as he used to be before. I thought Figueiredo looked great. He put his name at the 135 division. I think he's a fight away from maybe fighting a number one contenders match as well. But I thought overall this was a great card. We also had Turner versus Money Moicano. That was a great fight. Moicano was able to rebound and not get finished and dominate the second round. A lot of great fights. What did you think of this card?
Yeah, and even you mentioned Diego Lopez showed, his potential and got rid of Sadiq Youssef, a serious contender there in the first round. And then the debut of Kayla Harrison, victory over Holly Holm. I'm just so impressed with Kayla Harrison and what she's going to be able to do here in the UFC. I really think they're going to be able to build an entire division around her. Her versus Rocky Pennington is going to be a good fight. And then she's got, people on the horizon like Juliana Pena and Amanda Nunes in there after, Kayla Harrison looked at UFC 300. Though Justin Gaethje and Max Holloway was obviously a huge moment in UFC history and one that we'll never forget. I actually thought my favorite fight of the night was the versus Prohaska fight. Yuri was actually taking big shots in that first round and then came out of the storm and finished off Alexander Rakic. I thought that was a really impressive performance. But Alex Pereira did whatever he wanted in there with Jamal Hill, and I know since the fights happened, people have come out and said that he's gotten cheated. Maybe the camp of Jamal Hill that ended, but he kicked Alex Pereira in the groin, and Pereira decided to shake that foul off. They did glove touch after that, so once that glove touch happens, you got to be prepared to fight at all times. We've seen that in the time with the Kevin Holland and Hamzat fight, different situation, but similar, outcome, one fighter kind of being a little disappointed about it. But, I thought it was one of the best cards in UFC history. It might be the best card in UFC history. And, I think this one this weekend is going to be very good as well.
Yeah, 100%. Obviously, it's hard for a card to compare with UFC 300, but that doesn't take away from the tremendous card we got coming up this Saturday. Before we get into UFC 301, obviously there's some boxing news that we need to talk about. Probably one of the biggest matches of the year. We had Ryan Garcia, fooling everybody and shocking the world and getting the win over Devin Heney. I thought it was a good fight. Garcia, really looked like he had a huge size advantage. You could definitely see he was noticeably more hydrated. I think that hydration clause really, really cost him against Tank Davis in his last fight. But, when Garcia is fully hydrated and he's able to put that weight on and get close to 155, 160 on fight night, I don't think there's too many guys in the 135, 140 division. Obviously, because he missed weight, he won't be able to get the title shot or get the title right away. But I can see them having a rematch, maybe having a stricter weight limit. But I can see them having a rematch, and this time maybe Garcia can come away with the title. But what did you think of this fight?
Yeah, I think Ryan Garcia intentionally. I think he come into this one with a little bit of a side advantage, and you could see it in the fight. He was the more aggressive fighter from the first round. Look there in that first round and stunned Devin Heney, and Devin Heney was kind of on the back foot the remainder of the fight. Now Heney did come back and win rounds with his jab and combinations and things like that, but the thing that really surprised me the most was everybody talks about how defensively sound Heney is. When you see his fights with Lomachenko or his fights with Kambosos, in there, but he got touched up more so than we've ever seen in the past. It was really alarming to me. Ryan's power looked tremendous, but Haney's ability to take the shot, or inability to take the shot, rather, kind of surprised me as well.
Yeah, and honestly, speaking of Devin Haney, when he fought Lomachenko, I actually thought Lomachenko won that fight as well. So this isn't the first time that I thought Devin Haney should have lost this fight. He's definitely going to have to, take a step back, go back to the drawing board and see what he needs to fix. But for some reason, the last two of his last three fights, he hasn't looked like the same fighter, and he's definitely going to have to look much improved. Even if they do have a strict weight at 140, where Garcia has to hit that on weight night, Devin Haney's still going to have to change up some things if he's going to want, retain his belt.
Yeah, and that division is filled with killers. You got Tank, Garcia, Shakur Stevenson, all these guys that are just very talented fighters, and it's to the point in Devin's career where he's going to be matched up against a lot of these guys back to back to back. So, really, did you see the communication between Floyd Mayweather and Devin Haney's father on Instagram after the fight?
Yeah, I got a snippet of that. Yeah.
You did? Yeah, so, I mean, he brought up good points that maybe he needs to go outside of his father to get some training, not necessarily with Floyd, but, with other top-level trainers other than his father that, maybe can shore up some of the holes in his game. Do you think that he needs to shed his dad from his corner in order to grow and get back to a world title?
Yeah, 100%. I think he's kind of got a little stagnant. And kind of leveled off a little bit. At the age of 25, 26 years old, he's still got room to grow. We see fighters, fighting into their mid-30s. So I think he's got time to grow. We see guys like, Ryan Garcia and Tank Davis to where they continue to improve, with each and every fight. And for some reason, Devin Haney hasn't done that. He hasn't improved on each one of his fights, and that's alarming. And I think after seeing his fight against Lomachenko and how he looked against Garcia, I definitely think he needs to change something up. Unless if he's going to end up with more losses to his career.
Yeah, I agree with you. Is there anything before we get into?
I think we pretty much touched on everything else. You spoke about on UFC 300, how impressed you are with Diego Lopez. I was really impressed with him. I would like to see him fight Mozart next. Maybe, see how he looks without a, short-term notice fight, give him a full training camp. And maybe this time, Diego Lopez can come out with the win.
Yeah, I'd be interested in seeing that rematch. That's something they very easily put on a Fight Night main event as well. Did you get a chance to watch Knuckle Mania last weekend, the BKFC card?
No, I haven't got to see that yet.
It was kind of crazy. It's worth a watch. Yeah. But we have UFC 301 this week from Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, the flyweight title. Champion Alexandre Pantoja, 27-5, enters this contest against the 10th ranked contender in the world, Steve Erceg, who's 12-1. Anthony, me and you have been all over Steve Erceg for the last couple months now. We've been talking about the depth of this flyweight division, and he's really stuck out to us as one of the most technical fighters, one of the smartest fighters. And in his last fight with Matt Schnell, he showed that he has one-punch knockout power as well. So what do you think of this main event, and do you think that Steve Erceg, as an underdog, could have an upset?
Yeah, I definitely think, anybody with that type of power in that division could definitely always, have a chance. And I think he's definitely got a great all-around game. I think both these fighters can grapple and strike as well. Obviously, the ground game's going to favor Pantoja. The striking game's probably going to favor Steve Erceg. It's nice to see a new contender for Pantoja since he's already fought Mirando and, Roy Val so many times. I really like Steve Erceg. He's definitely got, potential to go in there. I wouldn't be surprised at all to see him get the knockout. But I'm going to still have to go with Pantoja. I think he's, the cream of the crop. I think he's in another tier above the rest of the flyweight division. I just think his grappling and all-around game is going to be too much. I think Pantoja is going to get the win probably by, I'm going to say by submission in probably the fourth round. And, we haven't seen Steve Erceg in a 5-round main event, and I think that could also factor in as well in favor of Pantoja since he's been in so many events. So I'm going to go with Pantoja by fourth-round submission. But who do you see winning this fight?
Yeah, I think this is a really close fight on paper. The length of Steve Erceg, I think, is going to cause a little bit of problems for Pantoja. When we saw him debut against David Dvorak, he utilized a jab that was really impressive, and then from there, he beat Alessandro Costa and was able to, another guy who's a jiu-jitsu guy in Costa, very similar skill set. I know he's not as good as Pantoja in the grand scheme of things, but similar skill set there. He found success, and then, I think that Erceg is one of these guys that's really talented, but the thing that stuck to me in this one that I hope is not the case is that he's rushed too soon. Sometimes in the past we see like Darren Till get a title shot against Tyrone Woodley a little bit before maybe he's ready, and he gets finished, and his confidence kind of goes on the decline. We've seen Sage Northcutt, and the list goes on and on about these young talented fighters that the UFC pushes and fight these contenders that have been around the block for years, and their confidence really diminishes after these losses. Do you think that a loss for Steve Erceg is going to be a really big problem considering he's ranked 10th in the division and he's never really had a win over a top 10 ranked fighter?
I don't think it'll affect him too much. I think he's the type of fighter to where within another couple of fights, he'll be right back in it. I think this fight, being in a main event, on the main card is going to put his name out there. He's going to gain some more fans, win or lose. I think if he loses this fight, he'll still fight probably another guy ranked in the top 5. If he looks good in that fight, then he may be fighting a number 1 contenders match as well. And yes, it does seem a little, too much too soon, but I feel like the UFC's hands were kind of tied. Obviously, Pantoja was ready to fight. He had to get on the Brazil card, and there really wasn't many contenders. Like we said, Moreno and Roy Val's not going to get another title shot since, they've lost to Pantoja already. And Bazzi, I guess, has an injury, so you can't give it to him. Manel Kopp and, Alex Perez and, Nicolou couldn't get the title shot. Mokaev just came off of a win as well, so you pretty much had either Mokaev or Steve Erceg. I guess they decided to go with Steve Erceg since he looked a little bit better in his matchup against Matt Schnell. So they pretty much had no other option than to go with Steve Erceg. I would love to see Steve Erceg, flip the flyweight division upside down and get the win. But I think right now it's too much too soon. I think Pantoja gets the win, but don't be surprised to see Steve Erceg in this position again within a year or two.
Yeah, I agree with all that, and I think that this championship experience will be a great learning, thing for Steve, regardless win or loss. But I think it's too much too soon for him as well. I think he'll be tough enough to survive this matchup. It actually surprised me when I went back and watched that fight, Costa, and I think he's going to be able to go the distance. I've got Pantoja by decision. I think Pantoja will be able to control him on the ground at times. He's going to have to get the fight to the ground and utilize some of that control against the cage because I think the fights at distance, there's a good chance he might get picked apart. And Steve's got big powers. Honestly, if you're trying to make money this weekend, I don't think Steve Erceg is option to put some money on as an under.
Yeah, I 100% agree. In our co-main event, we get to see the return of Jose Aldo fighting in Brazil again. He's fighting against, a great up-and-comer in Jonathan Martinez. This is a very exciting fight. Looking like it's probably going to be the last time we ever see Jose Aldo in the UFC. It's probably going to be his retirement fight in his home country of Brazil. You could say so many great things about Jose Aldo. He's one of the greatest of all time. You can make the argument that he's the greatest featherweight of all time. But, I just think Jonathan Martinez is a young killer. We've seen, Jose Aldo knocked out before. Older fighters struggle in these weight classes. So, unfortunately, as great as Jose Aldo was, and as, happy I am for him, and as much as I want to see him have a great retirement fight, I think Jonathan Martinez is going to TKO Jose Aldo in the first round. But how do you see it going?
In the first round. Wow. I think that Jonathan Martinez is going to win as well. I think that, like you were saying, that he's a great fighter. He's now on a 6-fight win streak. Had wins Said Nurmagomedov, who's in his own right a very good contender and moving up the rankings since that fight. So I think it's going to be hard for Jose Aldo here. 2 years off, he was in the sport of boxing. To jump right back in to the deep end of the pool against somebody who's just been grinding out wins, fight after fight, month after month, year after year here, and against this young kid, I think it's a tough task. I'm really surprised that the betting line on this is so even. It's almost a pick 'em. Jose will be fighting at home in front of his family and friends, so I don't think he wants to go out face down or getting knocked out, but that seems to be how the legends end their career. When we look at Dominic Cruz, Frankie Edgar, BJ Penn, all these guys just like Jose Aldo who are longtime champions, the last go around's not normally the best. So I've got Jonathan Martinez in this one. I think that he stops him as well. I'm going to take him in the third round. I think Aldo could come out and look good. He might even win a round in this contest, just with all the adrenaline he's going to have. He's going to come out as a fast starter in round one. He might win round one, but I think pressure of Martinez kicks will take over as the fight goes on. I got to the third round, and I think we have a pretty strong opinion in this one.
Yeah, and honestly, I don't disagree with anything you said. Like you said, with the adrenaline, him being his last fight, he's definitely going to come out, blades of glory. He might try, leave it all out there in the first round. So who knows? He might just try to go out there, give it all in his first round, maybe get the finish. And then if he doesn't get the finish, Martinez might just tee off on him in the second round. But, I hope Jose Aldo gets the win. I'd be really happy for him. But it's definitely going to be tough sledding against a killer like Jonathan Martinez. So it seems like we both agree on Martinez getting the win. You just got to go in 2 rounds. I just got to go in 1.
Yeah, second or third round. I think later half of the fight, Martinez will start to take over. But for Aldo, if he does this, it's going to be an all-time moment for him, a lot like Robbie Lawler. It'd be something to see for sure.
Yeah, it could be very similar to what we just see with Chris Weidman a couple weeks ago or a month ago.
Yep. And then also on this card, a fight that I'm really interested in, Vitor Petrino, undefeated overall in the UFC, taking on Anthony Smith, longtime contender, former title challenger. This is a ranked fight in the light heavyweight division. New guard versus old guard. Good jiu-jitsu, who's also a physical athlete, very strong, has knockout power, 7 knockouts. Smith has been knocked out 11 times himself in his career, which was an alarming statistic when I looked at this one. What do you make of this matchup at 205 pounds?
Yeah, I'm super excited for this. And I know, Brett, you've been hyping up, Petrino for a while now. And it's exciting to finally see him get a shot, against a nice ranked fighter like Anthony Smith. I think similar to Jose Aldo, I do think Anthony Smith is on his last legs. I think, Petrino is a serious, high potential, future contender in the division. He's 11-0. Anthony Smith is tough as nails, so he's not going to be an easy guy to finish. I do have Petrino winning, but I think Anthony Smith will be able to tough it out and, let the fight go the distance. So I'm going to go, Victor Petrino by unanimous decision. How do you see this one going?
Smith is a guy who comes. He's been in Strikeforce, came over to the UFC. He was fighting guys like Garcia in the day in Strikeforce, and now he's still in the game fighting the best up-and-comers. Petrino might be the next face of this division, and when you look at him at the top of this division, his ground game is something that I think he can utilize against like a Jamal Hill or an Alex Pereira. And, when you look at the power in his hands, he's very powerful as well. Now, is he the most fluid kickboxer? Does he put his combinations together, like Alex Pereira does? No, he doesn't. But I think that his game is coming together well. I think that he's one of the most well-rounded guys in the entire division. I think he's going to finish Anthony Smith in this one by knockout. Smith's got a good grappling game. He's a black belt in jiu-jitsu himself. I don't think Petrino is going to be able to, but I think that ground and pound might be the method of victory here. I think Petrino is going to win this one, third round KO or TKO.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised, to see it go that way. I just had, really respect for what, Anthony Smith has accomplished in his career, and I know he's very tough and he's a hard guy to finish. Even when he's losing fights, he's still tough. And, just like a Jim Miller at UFC 300, he's going to fight to the end until the referee calls it. But, I wouldn't be surprised. Petrino is a future maybe champion in this division. He's awesome and he's undefeated for a reason. I think this fight's going to put him for real on the map. He's going to be in serious contention as well in the future.
Roundtree. This is just a really tough matchup for Anthony Smith. Maybe the toughest stylistic matchup outside of the top 10 for him. Petrino's sitting there at 15 right now. What do you think? I think the sky's the limit for Petrino if he wins this one. It really puts his name on the map, and he could even get a top 5 challenger after this. What do you think?
Yeah, I 100% agree. Just like we saw with Khalil Roundtree after he got his win over Anthony Smith, now he gets to fight Jamal Hill. I wouldn't be surprised if they do the same thing with Petrino if he gets this win. I would not be mad if they give him a Rakic or a Yuri Prochazka. I think he'd be ready for it, especially if he goes out there and dominates Anthony Smith.
Yeah, I'm really excited for that matchup. And then another fight that I really don't think is going to go the distance is a middleweight contest between Michel Pereira and Ihor Potieria. Potieria dropped down from 205 pounds. He picked up a win in his middleweight debut, but he's going to be fighting one of the best fighters, that's making his way up the division right now in Michel Pereira. Pereira has an exciting fan-friendly style. He goes for spinning techniques. We've seen him even jump off the cage and do backflips. He's quite the entertainer out there, and he's also on a 7-fight win streak against some of the best in the division, like Michael Owicz-Chajik, and some other guys that are very respected challengers as well. How do you see this matchup? I think this is going to be one-way traffic for Michel Pereira. I see this being a knockout victory for him, and I think he could probably get it done early.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with you. I think this is the most decided fight that we're going to discuss. Pereira, like you said, on a 7-fight win streak. At this point, he should be fighting ranked fighters, but he's going to fight another unranked fighter, I think, because he wanted to fight on the Brazil card so soon. I think he's going to get this one in the first round by knockout as well. Ihor is a solid fighter, but, I'm really, really high on, Michel Pereira.
We had, one sec. Recording style. As well.
I'm still here. Anthony? Yeah, I'm still here.
Yeah, my bad, fight fans. We had a little technical difficulties here. Our recording seemed to have stopped, but okay. We'll try and figure it out. Hopefully it didn't cut off there. If it cut off there, we'll come back and finish it up. But does it still say it's recording on yours?
Yeah, mine says 24 minutes and 5 seconds.
Okay. All right. Sorry about that. On mine, it popped up with an alert, but it looks like it's still recording on your way. Sorry about that.
No, so Pereira on a 7-fight win streak. I agree with everything he said. I think he's going to get the win by first round knockout. Ihor is a solid fighter. But I think Michel Pereira is probably one of the 15 best middleweights on the planet.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying there 100%. So this last fight on the main card is really going to be a jiu-jitsu fan's dream here. We've got Paul Craig. He was at light heavyweight, also now moving down to middleweight. He's had a couple fights under his belt, lost to Brendan Allen. He's going to be fighting Craig-Caio Borralho, who has really impressed me. He is, one of the head coaches over there at the Fighting Nerds and helps other guys in the UFC. He's got 3 or 4 other fighters that he helps corner there at his gym. I think he's one of the best fighters outside of the UFC top 5 rankings, and I think he's going to be on the up and up here. Normally when you get 2 guys, it stays on the feet. I don't really like Paul Craig striking. I think that there's a chance that Paul Craig could get caught in this one and lose by knockout. How do you see this one?
Yeah, honestly, this is probably maybe the fight that I'm most excited about. I think Borralho is one of the best upcomers in all of the UFC. I think he's super talented. I think he's got an all-around game. Paul Craig is definitely a great test for him. He's definitely going to test, Borralho's takedown defense. Craig is definitely a superior grappler. He's got plenty of submissions in his career. I can see it going either way, but I just think, Borralho is just way too talented. His all-around game is going to be way too much. I think his grappling will be just good enough to hold off Craig. And I think Borralho is going to, get him in the striking and outstrike him. And I think he's going to get the decision win.
I like that pick a lot. I'm going same way, but I think he gets a finish here. Paul Craig has, been susceptible to ground and pound at times when looking for submissions. I think that Borralho will be able to capitalize on that and finish Paul Craig by ground and pound. I'm going to go with round 2.
Yeah, it's tough. I definitely wouldn't be surprised to see, him finish Craig. But, Craig's a tough fighter. He's definitely going to be tough to finish. We have seen him finish before. So, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see it go with that either way as well.
Yeah, and I honestly think that there's going to be a lot of finishes on this pay-per-view main card throughout it. So, hopefully we do get some competitive fights as well, but I think there'll be some finishes. Now, when we look at the prelims, the matchup that really sticks out to me is Jack Shore versus Joe Anderson Brito. Brito is a very well-rounded fighter, 7 knockouts, 7 submissions, fighting in his home country of Brazil. He's taking on a very tough guy in Jack Shore, whose only loss was to Ricky Simone by sub. He bounced back with a submission win of his own over Makwan Amirkhani last time out. What do you make of this matchup, and is this the one that you're most excited for on the prelims as well?
Yeah, I definitely think it's the main event of the prelims, the feature prelim for a reason. It's definitely going to be the most competitive. I can see it going either way. I like both guys as well. I think I'm going to go with Jack Shore to get the decision win, but it's definitely going to be a very, very close fight.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that Brito is more of the finisher. I think Jack Shore is going to try and get the fight to the ground. When he does go to the ground, he's going to have to watch out for the guillotines and slick submission attempts of Brito. Brito actually holds a victory over Diego Lopez on the Dana White Contender Series. So he's beaten some of the top guys in the world, and I think that he's going to be able to get it done at home against Jack Shore in this one. I think I'm going to go with Joe Anderson Brito by decision in that one. What fight sticks out to you on the prelims other than this? Is there anything else you're looking out for?
Yeah. Another fight that I think is going to be real competitive that I think could go either way is going to be Gene Silva going up against William Gomez. I think this is going to be a very competitive fight at featherweight, and I think it's going to be probably one of the best fights on the prelims as well.
Yeah, it's a pick'em right now. That's actually the closest in odds on the prelims. On the main card, it's that Jose Aldo and Jonathan Martinez fight. But on the prelims here, Gomez and Silva is the closest fight, at the betting window. So I'm really interested.
Yeah, I can't wait to break these down on Sunday for the fight fans. It's definitely going to be an exciting card. Not going to be as exciting as 300, but, no card is. But it definitely should be an exciting card for fight fans to enjoy this Saturday.
Yep, absolutely. And then we've also got Canelo Alvarez versus Jaime Munguia this weekend. So we'll be sure to bring a little bit of news there as well if something crazy happens in that Canelo Alvarez fight. Thanks for joining us, fight fans. We'll catch you on Sunday. See you next time.
See ya.